Hello, and time to showcase some more of our activities in Nigeria's power sector. This is Power Wheel, and every week on this program, efforts of operators at improving electricity supply are brought to you. It is a delight to have you join us again. I'm Sheung Olagunju. You're welcome. The Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, has decried the high spate of energy theft, calling on the federal government to extend its whistleblowing policy to the power sector to curb energy theft. Mr. Fashola gave the advice during the 16th monthly meeting of the power sector operators hosted by the Niger Delta Power Holding Company, NDPHC, at the Ugwaje Transmission Substation in Ogun State. The minister also warned distribution companies that they stand the chance of losing customers and running out of business once the generation companies start selling electricity directly to eligible customers.
Fashola said statistics reveal that only 6 million households consumed electricity in the country, adding, if this is correct, it means that some people steal energy in the country while only a few pay.
This is my public appeal to members of the public to extend the whistleblowing policy of the federal government to those who are stealing energy. Let us know your neighbor who is using electricity and is not paying for it, because you are probably carrying his own cost. And that is why your bills, especially where you don't have a meter, that is why the bills for the area is then estimated and applied to the person that the discos have on record.
The minister admonished discos to improve their services if they wish to retain their customer base, as a lot of companies had started indicating interest in being served electricity as eligible customers.
We must see the declaration of eligible customers beyond income. I think that we must see it, first of all, from the prism of service. Really and truly, why should any customer who is benefiting from your service in an efficient way want to leave? So, and the argument I have made is that if your service is good, why should anybody want to leave you? Because those who opt for eligible customer are going to pay more. But it's going to be cheaper than generating their own power by diesel and petrol.
He appealed to the Enugu state government to settle the 2.6 billion naira it owed the Enugu Electricity Distribution Company, saying the debt contributed to the challenges faced by the company in meeting the electricity needs of its customers. Fashola faulted the no-confidence vote passed on EEDC by the State House of Assembly and expressed dismay that the company had been under assault in Enugu State.
The power sector in privatization is in transition from government-owned for almost 6 decades to private-owned for less than 4 years. The kind of results that we expect will not come in this very short time. The interests of the people of Enugu and environs whom they represent, if they work and collaborate, criticize, encourage and challenge the disco rather than passing the so-called vote of no confidence.
The commissioner in charge of engineering performance and monitoring in the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC, Professor Frank Okafor, disclosed that the commission will sanction and dissolve the board if any disco with a track record of poor performance, even after 3 years of taking over from PHCN.
A lot of the discos have not done well in metering people. You know, they committed to certain level of metering every year, but they have not. And they have not done that. We are looking at very heavy sanctions, including calling off the boards of some discos and replacing the boards.
The meeting, which focused on identifying, discussing and finding practical solutions to critical issues facing the Nigerian electricity supply industry, ended with a communique urging members of the public to discharge their responsibilities of paying for energy costs.
State governments are encouraged to appoint energy advisors to ensure understanding of the power sector before formulating power policies. E. Discos should bring up their observations about the eligible customer declaration for all concerns to be addressed. The Power Sector Recovery Program, PSRP, is receiving public attention, focusing on the importance of unity and the common view of the Nigerian people on the importance and urgency of solving power problems.
The operators were fully represented at the highest executive management levels, including the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, Power Generating and Distribution Companies, and the Transmission Company of Nigeria, as well as other stakeholders.
Engineer Edmond Eje is the General Manager in charge of operations at TCN's Independent System Operator, ISO, which includes reading of all bulk metering of all interface points between power generating stations, GENCOs, and TCN, as well as TCN and the DISCOs, and special customers, as well as the reconciling and auditing of such bulk meter readings for the production of monthly bills in the Nigerian electricity market. He spoke to Power Wheel on these functions of his department and more.
The interface trading points is a moving target. As we're talking, I can assure you that more interfaces are growing, and that's how meters are also required. And then the speed of filling those gaps is what we strive to do in the market so that our billing wouldn't have a problem. 2001, when metering gap analysis was carried out, that is in preparation for privatization. And then we were able to go around the country, identify the metering gaps, and of course, within the available resources, we try to fill those gaps using modern meters. And in 2003, final metering gap analysis was carried out to find out fairly if there were gaps. The gaps that were identified were also filled. Then the market operation was formally incepted in 2004. And then from then on, all the energy generated, energy evacuated by the transmission company, and then energy taken by the distribution company were all adequately accounted for. The idea is that no market can say they have high integrity if the meter data do not have, high integrity as well. It is the integrity of the meter that meter reading that is converted into Naira that matters a lot to the investors. And as a result, we've been so careful at handling the meter data. Now, the metering market procedure specifies how meters are read. How meters are read. The distribution company themselves have representatives. The system operator that represents TCN also in the field. The TSP also who shares interface with the distribution company in the field. All these stakeholders go to read the meter at the end of the month, and they sign off, and they send to us. We don't necessarily go to read, but it does not mean that what they have sent to us is correct until we evaluate and then confirm that those data are vouchable. So what happens is that meter is an electronic component, garbage in, garbage out. If the components of the signals entering are wrong, whatever they read also wrong. So what we normally do is that when they send us reading, we calculate the feeder readings, calculate the incomer and feeder, and then we check that the difference between the incomer and feeder summation is not far from plus minus 2%. Most often when we talk about metering, people think we are talking about the last consumer's meter. No, the last consumer's meter is taken care of by the discos themselves. That's the ones you use in the house, prepayment meter and all that. This meter we are talking about is metering the 11 distribution companies, metering the output from all the 23 generating companies we have. That's what we're talking about. In other words, bulk metering. The generator generates, sells in bulk. The distribution companies buy in bulk. Therefore, the difference between what the generator has given out in bulk and what the distribution company has taken in bulk gives us the transmission loss. And that's a KPI for the performance of the transmission company of Nigeria. The distribution companies buy in bulk and sell to the to the consumers. Again, there are some classes of customers that equally buy in bulk from distribution customers as well. They buy in bulk from distributors. The distributor buys in bulk from generators, so to say. Now, a set of other customers buy also in bulk from the distributors. Now, the market sees this class of customers as potential customers who have the characteristics of the distribution company to buy energy in bulk from the generator. So when the transitional electricity market was declared in the order 0011 of 2015 issued by the regulator, it says that this group of customers, we call special customers for now, should be buying energy from the distribution customers where the geographical fall under. In other words, if you have a 132 kV customer that has its location in Enugu, they become automatically customer to Enugu Distribution Company. But before this time, they were paying their revenue directly to Transmission Company of Nigeria. Why? Because their network belongs to the grid, not distribution network. So these are the special customers that are potential eligible customers. So if you take the word by its meaning, what it means is that distribution companies are eligible customers. Now, these special customers, when declared, will now join the discos to become eligible customers. And now what's the implication of that? The implication is that the discos will lose this set of customers, and these customers will now go directly to the generators, negotiate and buy their energy at cheaper tariff than what they are paying to the distribution customers.
You're watching Power Wheel, TCN's weekly program showcasing activities in Nigeria's electricity supply sector. We're glad you're staying with us. The Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, recently made history when it, for the first time in the last 20 years, maintained great frequency stability within the operating band of 49.5 Hz to 50.5 Hz for 24 consecutive hours. This important milestone, which was achieved on the 14th of June 2017, is a key pointer to the gradual and consistent improvement in the stability of the nation's transmission grid. This feat was achieved through the free governor control action agreed with generation companies and implemented since May 22, 2017, which has helped in stabilizing frequency and in turn enabled TCN achieve a very high level of stability and reliability in the grid amid operational challenges posed by stormy weather. TCN's MD Usman Gur Mohammed and the entire management once again express appreciation to GENCOs nationwide for complying with the grid code rule, saying TCN is working with NERC on the provision of required incentives for GENCOs to provide enough spinning reserve. TCN reiterates its commitment to diligently executing its grid expansion and stability plans in the short, medium and long terms, as well as working closely with the GENCOs and DISCOs to grow the load capability and deliver quality and stable electricity supply to consumers nationwide. The electricity production chain in Nigeria, and mostly generally, consists of three components of generation, transmission and distribution. After the 2013 privatization of TCN, there emerged 8 generation companies called GENCOs and 11 distribution companies, the DISCOs, which were acquired by private entities. The transmission aspect, which is in charge of the national grid, remained one and also in the control of government. That is the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN. With this, PSCN became defunct and 8 more generation stations by the Niger Delta Power Holding Company, NDPHC, and 6 by other independent power producers, IPPs, have since been added to the privatized legacy GENCOs. Now, these 3 components play very pivotal roles in the production and supply of electricity. If one has pervasive issues, it would affect the productivity of others. And 4 years after the completion of the privatization process, many still do not know the difference in the roles of the emergent companies, nor that PSCN does not even exist anymore. So, as part of our advocacy and information initiative, Power Wheel is doing a focus series on electricity production. We want to show you how electricity is produced and how it travels from generation through transmission to distribution into your homes and businesses. We start our focus with generation. Presently in Nigeria, electric power is generated mainly from gas called thermal and water hydro. No doubt, the presently generated megawatts of electricity, which hover around 4,000 to 5,000 megawatts, are grossly inadequate for Nigeria with a huge population. But operators are, despite their best efforts, constrained by many factors. Part of the reason we want to show you the process for you to appreciate the untiring efforts by all operators to improve electricity supply in the country. Power Wheel's Josephine Uko and Eric Ene were at a National Integrated Power Plant NIPP, the Giregutu Thermal Power Station, located in Ajaokuta, Kogi State, as we bring to you the process of generating electricity using gas turbine. This is the first in the series.
The Giregutu Power Plant, which was commissioned by former President Jonathan on October 3, 2013, and described as a world-class project because of its completion on schedule and within budget, has 3 units capacity, generating 431 megawatts into the grid. The Chief Operating Officer, Engineer Muhammad Dauda, explained the process of producing electricity using gas.
Gas turbine, as the name implies, is a turbine that's using natural gas to produce electricity. And how it does is that it admits natural gas with air. Air is being drawn from the environment into, that's atmosphere, into the combustion chamber. They will mix there and exploit. And the product of the explosion, push the turbine blades to rotate the shaft, which in turn rotates the generator and produce what we call electromotive force, which is further rectified to voltage. And the voltage that is produced from the generator is 15.75 kV, which will now pass through the unit transformer and transform it to 330 kV, which will now be transmitted into the grid.
Engineer Dauda further spoke on the source of gas and the installed capacity of the station. He identified the issue of liquidity in the market as the major constraints for the station.
We are receiving gas from Sapele, Oben in Sapele, that comes through the Ajakuta line to Ajakuta metering station. We take it from Ajakuta metering station to the plant. And we constructed the line. Is about 18-inch pipe that is capable of giving us up to 250 million scoff. But all we need here is about 105 million scoff per day.
Speaking on the interface between the station, TCN, NBETS and the discos, Engineer Dauda confirmed that TCN has the capacity to evacuate the electricity generated into the national grid.
The relationship that I know is we generate the power. The TCN has capacity to evacuate the power, to wheel the power to discos, and discos will sell the power. The relationship we have with NBET is we are supposed to have a contract. We give them all the bulk power we produce, and they should also have a contract with discos to give them this power, and they are responsible to pay for our power.
Our crew was taken on a tour of the power station, starting from the water plant, the gas pipeline, the turbines where the conversion of gas to electricity takes place, the control room, and the exit point where the power is sent to the switchyard for onwards transmission into the grid.
This is the gas pipeline coming from the gas header outside. There is a gas header that gives each of the turbines the gas. So this one is the one giving 23. So it comes to this is the gas control valve. Then from this gas control valve that control the fuel, the gas. Here it goes out from here to the turbine. So this is the outgoing line. This is the incoming line into the control valve. And from control valve going out to the turbine. One of the components of a gas generating unit. And what the generator does is to achieve the rotation being caused from the turbine to generate. We have a step-up transformer that steps off the 15.75 kV being produced from our generator is transformed to 330 kV. This component you are seeing is the unit transformer from the plant here. Is sent to the switchyard where the power plant is linked up with the grid.
The Ajaokuta sub-region of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, with a total capacity of 486 MVA, which also has a switchyard within the premises, has the responsibility of wheeling the power generated by the NIPP turbine Geregu 2 to distribution load centers The Power Wheel crew also visited the sub-region where the Acting Assistant General Manager in charge of the station, Engineer Fatai Olatunde, explained the process of getting the electric power onto the load centers for the distribution companies.
We have 2 circuits coming from Benin. Those are the 2 coming into our station. The one you are looking straight there, that is the one that is wheeling power from this place to Lokoja, from Lokoja to Gwagwalada. Yes. And in this station, we have 3 transformers, 162 MVA. We call it 81, 82, and 84. So this is where we step down the power from 330 to 132, where we feed our other feeders that we supplied to.
The sub-region also houses the control room of System Operation SO, where the grid is being monitored and managed. That's the much we can squeeze into this edition of Power Wheel. As we leave you, let's remind you that energy efficiency is the message all over the world now. Do not waste electricity. Switch off all appliances not in use when going out or even while at home. Let's conserve power. I am Shiun Olagunju. Thanks for watching.